Welcome back. It's a brand new CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through one thing. He's just gonna solidify everything within those.
Does come back. Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura's gonna be able to find these shots through.
Inu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes the Nabla immediately goes back to fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
Ashe players, Juno, Zen, Ana players, all characters that don't fare particularly well, and of course did start their season, unfortunately, with a loss. If it was up to them, they would be playing things like the Sigma and the Soldier to stay at range, but they're not quite going to have that luxury. They do have some coaching, however. Samkar is their head coach, so see if that's an advantage that can be gathered. One person whose entire job is to just sit on the sidelines, try and take a more objective and holistic view of things.
Yeah, I mean, Hanzo's not that bad right now, honestly. I've seen some great success from the hero. Obviously, we can all think back to the international events where Lethal was able to get plenty of work on the hero, especially on King's Row. I think I got to cast AES, actually, who was playing CGL last season, and I believe is still playing under Aura Farmers, who's also got a pretty good handle on the hero when he's able to escape that flex support role. So I actually can find quite a lot of value. The fresh perks at Lunge, the buffs to Scatter Arrow do make the hero quite a lot more impactful.
It's also the general one-shot element, with hit scans being up, because even despite being projectile, Hanzo's always been the hit scan role. When hit scans across the board get worse, well, who steps up to fill that void? Hanzo, the hit scan with arrows. Don't worry about it. We're not thinking about it too closely. The exact same reason why Tracer's flex DPS and not hit scan, which is an argument that I have had to have a few times, which was crazy. People that just sort of sniff glue. So the kind of people that I hang around with generally.
It's pretty simple at the end of the day. If you have a long sightline, hit scan. If you have short sightline, flex.
Thank you for dumbing that down for me, Spectron. I'm not a clever man in the slightest, so it is great. Malga, Lucio banned. So I am interested here. I can't honestly fathom the reason for these bans, at least not immediately.
Well, let's see what the order is of our bans. It's gonna be a Malga ban coming through first from DYS. He's not a crazy strong hero right now. It's probably a target ban. Lucio ban is going to force your opponent onto a Brig, which is generally going to be, especially if the player isn't particularly strong on Brig, is a much easier target for the Malga to stomp. As well, Malga more traditionally could play with like a Juno Brig setup, whereas a lot of other comps will need a Lucio carry to kind of function as to play, for example, a Doomfist, a Wrecking Ball in a lot of setups. So I think these kind of do make sense. These look like bans from teams who recognize what the other brings to the table and trying to ban away from it.
Yeah, I think the map choice, if we get into that at some point soon as well, is also going to inform the DYS budget approved. They do say that Ball is their favorite character. Of course, salivating in a meta like this. Maybe not perfect on every map, if it's something in closed sightlines. So, something like a Samoa, I suppose, where... I mean, I wouldn't even think Mal is massively strong here, but I understand that it can just be very frustrating in mode based so heavily around the objective to have to deal with a Malga when you want to play the ball. So you ban that out just to make sure that your ball is going to be more reinforced. Already an incredibly strong pick in this meta, going to be even better.
I mean, Samoa is a pretty brutally control point. It's probably second most behind Antarctic Peninsula, so I think it does make sense to get rid of it here. In terms of the setups we're seeing, we're getting involved, right? We're getting involved. Czar, Tracer, Reaper. We have been seeing a decent amount of Reaper in at least face at Master Division. You have a decent mix of being able to frontline with your high damage and be able to fight on the side with your mobility. You've got your Shadow Step, right? Your Wraith form. So you've got a little bit of survivability, a little bit of mobility to allow you to do that. And then the backline, we're keeping it funky, we're keeping it fresh. Seems like we will be running out on the Kiriko. And on the other side of things, the Diva with the double flex backline, the Kiriko and the Ana, you've got an extended shooting phase here, but in the 1v1 versus the Zarya, you might struggle.
Yeah, and Zarya is going to have to play... not that selfishly here. When you have a Reaper, it's entirely about getting him to close distance. He can do that with the TP, but generally a bubble send him on his way is going to be pretty good. We see Gaspard going into the backline, and Delta, I believe, actually got slept up by the Ana, is going to be immediately executed by Nashoba as well. Lampi, however, able to demet Gaspard. Definitely seemed like they went in a little bit too eager that time, and Reno has already found his way to incredibly high charge, and to be honest, that's your way of zoning out the backline. They can't really walk when there's just a big charge Zarya shooting them in the face.
Yeah, I mean, the idea from Gaspard was to just ignore the 1v1 with the Zarya as much as possible, get a hit going sooner rather than later so that Reno doesn't have a chance to accrue any charge. However, that does mean you have to go in and essentially 1v3, just gets evaporated over to the ball, a hell of a lot easier here, and you got the Pharah too, to stay outside of basically the entirety of Budget Approved's range.
Yeah, there's going to be absolutely nothing that can keep this Pharah in check, at least not with the ability to just, you know, get the hell out of dodge. And an early pick came through onto Bronan as well, on account of a Kiri headshot from Noheen. Of course, Wu Yang, the new kid on the block, but you know that Kiri can always get those headshots in. The ball's going to be a much better adjustment against the Zarya. It means that you actually can ignore the Zarya. D.Va, that's the idea, but often in practice it doesn't quite materialize. Unfortunately, Reno's still very high charge and has a lot of pocket healing from the Wu Yang right now, and actually able to deal with the Pharah, clipping the wings there before Gaspard goes into the backline and finds one of their own. Fight's breaking down, getting a bit chaotic, but honestly that's kind of what Budget Approved love, you know, with a Reaper, with a charged Zarya, everyone scatters a bit, you can just beam them all down.
Yeah, the problem with the backline of Dragon's Abyss specifically is that they can't play inside the chaos that Gaspard loves. And so if you're not finding nade value consistently, then Beru kind of doesn't accomplish a whole lot, right? Coming into last fight territory, realistically, Pulse, I mean, Pulse is in the bin. You have to hard reset if you're Dragon's Abyss.
Oh, you can try and hard reset, but as you get closer to that final percentage, now Beru's dead. I mean, you don't have any options, right? You either full commit with what you have the moment someone goes down, or you reset and send Gaspard for the desperation touch to try and fight an overtime 5v5. Instead, you don't really do either of those things, and I don't think the touch can even come through on account of the grab holding them at the gates. That's a brutal start for Dragon's Abyss.
10%, not quite what you'd realistically want on your opening gambit, right? Budget Approved, able to get a pretty convincing win here. I think it's pretty easy to say. And as we move towards our Volcano as well, one of the more brawly points, and this Zarya is not going to get any weaker. If I am Dragon's Abyss, I'm maybe thinking about what I can bring to bear to make Reno's life a little bit harder, whether it be a Reinhardt, whether it be something that maybe even goes past, like a Winston, but they want to play essentially a mirror, actually. See how that works out, because it's just going to come down to individual strength on the hero, maybe some small compositional changes. Right now, though, exactly the same down the center.
Yeah, so in terms of, you know, huge macro play, to be honest, there's not going to be anything separating. They're going to be trying to do the same things, you know, clear space, gain energy, etc., etc. So it's mostly just about the individual matchups, you know, which Zarya gets higher charge, which Reaper can deal more effective damage, and Delta just immediately collects 3 there. Did you even have a bubble? Did you not? I don't think anyone particularly cares at this point, because I mean, Delta just doing a ton of work. The members of Budget Approved had kind of given a lot of space and fallen low, but Delta sweeps in to clean everything up.
Dragon's Abyss didn't even have a chance there. Delta just obliterates 3 members instantly, and first cap hit happens for Budget Approved. You don't even have any Zarya in charge. I mean, nobody has to contribute whatsoever. Just have to wait for your enemies to walk in and let Delta do his thing, apparently.
Yeah, just double bubble that, man. That's exactly what it can do. Unfortunately, one DPS taking all the attention. We should probably look at the other one, Bronan, who's going back to the spawn room on account of Nashoba. Things resetting on the point here for the time being. Suzu's been forced out from Leaky. Mazo able to get in close to the Zarya, but not quite able to win that duel. The pocket is exceptional. Unfortunately, Lampy does put himself in a very risky position in order to rescue Reno there. Does go down for it. The carry is dead. Delta has been dealt with. The point has been flipped back for Dragon's Abyss, but to be honest, it's not quite over yet. Reno's still in here, charging up to a grab. Could use this solo, could try and get a big one with it. Ronan also going to be falling on the flip side as well. You do end up getting the grab. It is just the one man onto Gaspard. All hell is breaking loose now as we have a Kitsu rush on the point for Noheen. Percentage still ticking up for Dragon's Abyss during all of the chaos. Noheen actually going to be taken out within their own Kitsune rush. Reno's been able to get all that charge that you need and is able to, off the back of that essentially, plus some nice shots coming in onto a TPing Mazo, reclaim the point for DYS.
super sloppy there from Gaspard. An accurate ult track would have told you about that Graviton Surge, and to counterplay against that is essentially to not swing around the corner out of line of sight of both your supports and get 1v1 by the opposing Zarya. So huge mistake there. You do have a decent refight, but you also equally have to be worried about Delta going first with a Blossom. You know, bubbled, maybe even with that Wu Yang ult to enable it.
Yeah, they're going to be putting in Mazo with that ult, but actually taken down. Somehow, that's the first person to get an ult. You get a Wu Yang ult, use an ult of their own, and somehow die and lose the fight anyway. And what really went wrong in execution there? I don't see a world in which Wu Yang ult and Blossom loses you a team fight.
It was way too early by the looks of things. I don't think anybody on Dragon's Abyss was in a position to provide a secondary threat, and so the entirety of budget approved can all just turn for the one Reaper. Oh, 10% left to go. It's another early Graviton.
Yeah, that is a lap in ult charge. What are we seeing? Kill feed going crazy right now. Nashoba might just be bringing this back from the depths, but can you even get the touch through onto the point? No! It was all for nothing. We put all our explosives on the line, and for what? Budget approved winning this map 2-0, but goddamn Dragon's Abyss, you really made that flashy, huh, guys?
The volcano exploded, that's all I can say. I love the idea for the early play from budget approved. The re-grab into Pulse Bomb is, I mean, the biggest thing we've probably seen all CGL season. Let's keep it a buck. But they're too far away from the point, and so they all just get exploded. That is quite something. I haven't seen that in a little while, but I don't think anybody in the lobby has either. A little bit closer at least for Dragon's Abyss, but still DYS improved from taking this first map, drawing first blood in this series and showing why they won their previous series in 3-1 fashion. What do we even go after that, man? I feel like we already need a break.
I mean, 7 kills literally came out in the span of half a second. Because while there was the Pulse Bomb, the two grabs were right on top of each other. Delta got caught in the grab, but also used the Blossom to kill everyone in the other team's grab at the exact same time the Pulse Bomb comes out. There's one Kiri left. Kiri ends up winning the duel to get to the point, but is just too slow to actually get there. That is like that is tragic. Snatching a defeat from the jaws of victory were Dragon's Abyss, but let's give our credit to DYS there. They were up. They won that first point in dominant fashion. They looked to be pretty dominant on the second point. You know, one fight not going your way is something that just sort of happens. And to be honest, thinking about it, they didn't actually lose potential at the point because of losing a fight. They just lost some space and players, gave up point cap for a bit, and then just instantly re-engaged and then won the refight. So budget approved, looking solid there. Dragon's Abyss, it looks like they're going to need to do something quite stylistically different, or as you were telling me about that double boss fight in Silksong just earlier, just get better, I guess.
Yeah. That is how it often goes. When you are playing the full mirror, then it is purely a factor of execution, right? I think here it was budget approved, knowing where to take fights mostly that gave them the advantage. I think Dragon's Abyss were actually winning their side fight a decent amount. They were getting their Reaper to hard 1v1 the enemy Tracer. The Tracer struggles, right? The Reaper heals off you, you don't heal off him. If you can't, one shot, and so you end up getting chunked pretty fast. And with that side fight advantage, they would often just push a little bit too deep when we see, I can't remember who, but the Dragon's Abyss Zarya was pushed too far forward, get a solo grab by Reno, get punished for that. It's another example of a positional mistake from Dragon's Abyss. So if they can clean that up a little bit, really, fix in their heads where they should be playing, when they should be playing there, then it could be a hell of a lot closer, because from that previous fight alone, we can see that their mechanics are pretty much even.
Yeah, and also the Zarya comp with the Reaper, it's so brutal, because oftentimes it's like, I think there is counterplay to it, and I'll get onto it, but it's very much like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because we know that the #1 way to deal with a Reaper is just communication, checking him, right? Check the flanks, mark the angles, poke him out whenever you possibly can. Just don't let him get in close. I'm sorry, but looking at Malgo with just the Chica picture on it just sent me.
Your face will be there. Well, listen to my Chunga's co-cast. He's breaking up in giggles already. Listen, it's time for the...
Look at Malgo, bro.
He's there. He's chilling. What do you want me to say?
What I was saying is that, like, with this, that becomes impossible because the Reaper's just going to TP him with a bubble, and it's like, okay, so do we break the bubble immediately? Well, then we just feed a bunch of energy to Zarya, and we're screwed. Or do we not shoot the bubble? Okay, well then Reaper just gets like a good 2.5 seconds just freely shoot on our backline, which is more than enough time for him to secure a kill as well. So anyway, I'm done with the giggles. It seems like the first ban has come out on behalf of Dragon's Abyss, and it's going to be the Hazard.
I mean, if you want, that's all I can really offer. I'm afraid. Kiri ban second.
Do they want? Do they want, Antoine? Do they want?
I don't really know. I feel like it very much depends on the map pick, right? Because with the Zarya still in, considering that was the mirror they were losing on. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Kiri does make sense, right? You're targeting double flex backlines. You feel that you're not as comfortable on it. I think that's a very reasonable ban from DYS. But for Dragons, this Hazard has to be like a huge threat. And in this current economy, we'll have to wait and see whether it will be actually in the lobby, right? Some subs are being made. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I feel like the main question is, what's the map we take this to next?
I feel like the Hazard can deal with the Zarya pretty well, though, no? Obviously, it's a game of bubbles, right? So you have to force those out, but Hazard is pretty effective at forcing it out. When Zarya gets a big, spike in energy and damage, you can generally block and you have the potential disengage. Once you force the bubbles out, the engage onto her is pretty simple, honestly, with the slash and the fact that Zarya has a gigantic head. In the close range, Hazard absolutely has the advantage against a low energy Zarya, so banning it out is
everybody's
interesting.
An advantage with a low energy Zarya. It's a...
Alright, sure, but also Hazard... But also Hazard isn't the type of character that would feed a lot of energy to a Zarya as well,
That's
right?
true
It's similar to a
enough.
Winston in that regard.
But, I feel like a lot of characters kind of don't do that. I feel like Hazard, the problem is if there is a high energy Zarya, you just can't interact and you're too slow to find value in the backline easily. Like if you're Winston into a high energy Zarya, you can just jump past. Your ball, you can go in, out, whatever. Your Haz, you just have to sit there and take it, essentially, which is pretty rough. Hollywood does make sense for a Haz ban. It's longer range, comes down to more shooting sight lines. Zarya here finds a lot of times where she can't quite reach anything with that particle cannon, so I think it does make sense. It's putting a lot of faith, though, into especially your long-range hit scan, to a secondary extent, your flex supports to try and get the work in, though. And so once we actually get in lobby, we'll have to wait and see whether that materializes.
My favorite part about this is that I'm going to start giggling on the next hero ban screen because Kiriko is also going to be replaced with Chica. And that makes me giggle.
I can tell you're in a giggly mood today. Someone set this off.
I saw your handsome face.
Yeah, like you've got a photo of me on your wall. Like it's a regular occurrence.
Well, yeah, I have photos of you. They're everywhere, but we don't need to get into that. On the defensive side, we're going to see a Lucio and a Wu Yang. What do we think about this combination?
It's good at supporting angles. It's very Korean. Reno is going to have no healing and it's going to have a low-key terrible time.
Okay, wonderful. So the Korean comp versus the non-Korean comp, it appears. Orisa on the defensive side. If you were going to choose a Brawl tank, it would be an Orisa. I don't think Brawl is particularly the meta right now, but might as well make it work with whatever you have. Unfortunately, you could kind of see the lack of healing output come through as budget approved to force back, but being forced back doesn't really matter when your Tracer's able to get the trades. When Bronan's able to do a ton of work in the backline, actually. I don't even think that was with the support of a Lucio or some Wu Yang healing. That was just Bronan doing this for love of the game.
I mean, yeah, this comp is really good at enabling your DPS. That's the main thing here, and that apparently happened with this late kill from Bronan. Dragon's Abyss are going to try and go super aggressive to take advantage of the lack of burst healing, but that also means they have to take plenty of damage on their way in, and that is so far what's punishing them. They seize control of the high ground, do budget improve, but they still have plenty of strong sightlines.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like they are more than willing to just bunker up in this small room, and especially when on the high ground, Delta's able to get the shots in. Headshot after headshot moment from Delta coming through there, putting them right between the eyes of the members of the Dragon's Abyss. And Gaspard is getting a very warm welcome into the CGL family right now.
Yeah, staggered and taking care of by an empowered boop from Winch, one of the substitutes, thrown into the lobby by budget improved, and so far showing his metal well. Dragon's Abyss, half their time bank now gone, getting closer to supports first and foremost. I would expect them to slow play until they're both online and then send in maybe Nashoba, maybe Maze though, with one or even both of them and just seeing what happens.
Yeah, Freet also in. Specifically, it seems to play the Wu Yang on the side of Dragon's Abyss. Delta does have the bomb on the angle, can set it up whenever. Turn this into a 6-5! Just deletes the Tracer from the lobby as well. Delta has put... Who gave Delta crack? Basically, that's my question.
That's a fantastic question. All I can really come up with, but he's so far coming up with great work. Okay, that sleep is a bit awkward. That sleep is a little bit awkward, but there's not a lot you can really do to punish. The nade is going to suck. So too is the shot. Surviving on 25 HP. The heal and the speed both coming through from Winch. And budget approved, still stable, and still some very good ults to bring to bear.
Yeah, we're actually going to send the Genji in, particularly aggressively with the Wu Yang ultimate, to take down the opposing Wu Yang, who had an ultimate of their own as well. 4-5 situation, which has to let the sound barrier rip. They send in Reno to Terra Surge on the point as well. Now it's Blade time. Can you get busy with the knife in this small room? Not quite. Nano has come through from Dragon's Abyss, actually on Freet of all people. Possibly an overinvestment in ults, as a stick onto Gaspard is just going to be... Bro just got tickled by that. He does not care in the slightest about that pulse bomb damage. And no, we actually send in Bronan as well. We still think this is winnable for budget approved. Yeah, you were able to get the knockdown, a ton of damage onto Free. Reno's back on the ball, however. Taking out Wu Yang is a big deal, but that goes the other way as well when Mazo's able to do it. Now we have the Anchor falling low, but Mazo on the Genji coming alive in the latter moments of this fight here. First point cap, all but secured.
Yeah, no recall there for Bronan, stops him from getting the final blow here. And Maze are able to find more than a couple eliminations here, being the red thread that allows Dragon's Abyss to continue forward. Actually, no one was as well from budget approved because they fought so aggressively to hold the first point. The bomb being closer to support for Dragon's Abyss, they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable about this.
Yeah, recall that Mazo used this Dragon Blade during that last fight, and now is already 76% to another one as well. Bronan slept up, actually able to live, but the recall is forced, so is going to have to maybe wait a bit before getting super aggressive. I say that, but this guy absolutely just has no fear right now. No recall, no blinks, and is still comfortable to just duel out a diva. It works when Reno's able to go into the backline and get that level of value before being taken out by a bomb, which, you know, of all characters to get bombed, I wouldn't think Wrecking Ball. Mazo comes onto the backline with this newly acquired blade, however, and is making short work of the second point of Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, it was Delta mostly who was the shining star of the first point, but as you've got into the streets phase, it's been Mazo who's been the one putting his name in the kill feed more often than not. Reno goes to a minefield, and will have it very likely to defend this final corner, but sidelines not favoring budget approved at all. They need to pop off here.
Yeah, we see Freet's also made the adjustment over to the Brig. It seems very targeted against Reno. And Mazo again with the kill onto Winch was enabled by a nice sleep, of course, but don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, and don't let a Genji get in the way of a good point cap, I suppose, as Delta turns around, deals with that ninja threat. Minefield on the point. Does not end up taking out any members of Dragon's Abyss, but it is going to force them back. And I think with the late kill from Delta, even though Bronan's gone down, we just have space and time to work with here. But you need to think about the objective, and you need to Come on! Nah, I'm losing it. Nah, I'm losing it.
Yeah, that's sloppy at the best of times. It's been pretty poor, unfortunately. Could have been a full health here for DYS budget approved, but we're now in the last phase of the map. Thankfully, a double kill from a Bronan allows a stabilization at the very least. But we just didn't have to be in this scenario in the first place. So now 2 minutes for Dragon's Abyss to complete the map. That's 2 minutes to bank ults and have one last throw at this, because budget approved probably have to use just a little bit to keep this defense going.
Just a little bit. I mean, honestly, take your pick, as we are going to go into a quick game pause. Just to sort out some technical issues. And okay, we have a moment of calm now, because I got very excited there, because I think the worst thing is, like, I just knew that this was the sort of situation where a C9 could happen, and so I was looking at the top of the screen and I was watching that meter, and it was at 5, and I was like, okay, but like surely the ball touches, and then 4, 3, and by the tomb point, I'm like, wait, Ball's not going to touch this, and then it just goes down and down. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, seriously. So yes, that is a brief pause on things, but as I was saying, budget approved. They look pretty well poised to hold off the third point. Dragon's Abyss is, I think, as you say, if they play this clever, they might just have to have a dry fight or two, bank their ultimates as best as possible, and then just push through best they can with a big show of momentum. Will it get them to the end? Probably not, but if it can get you some distance, every single centimeter does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. See exactly how many they can eke out as we are back into the action. Dragons Abyss apart, we're looking for maybe a dry fight from them, at least until this Nohim Nano Boost comes online. The hard mark onto Gas, but it might just lose the Diva his life, but he'll be able to back out.
Yeah, the Honor Brig does have quite a lot of healing output, provided Diva's able to get back. It's going to be more than okay to keep that tank alive, keeping the DPS alive. That's more a budget-approved thing, and you can see it right there when Bronan ended up winning out the Tracer duel with Yashoba. And to be honest, DPS winning angles is going to be most of what the game realistically is. Freak just sort of goes into Narnia there inexplicably.
Yeah, that
gets exploded by Lampy. Gaspard also tried to go for the explosion tech, but it didn't quite work out.
At the end of the day, Wu Angle self-destruct out, budget approved still. Relatively healthy with the B and Bob both, but Dragon's Abyss coming into this next fight with 4 ultimates. And one mention, this Nightblade is going to be coming out. If Winch lands this beat, is going to blunt so much of the aggression of Dragon's Abyss. If he doesn't, budget approved have to fight to defend their lives.
Well, there's the blade that comes out. There's the nano onto it. Delta and Lampy immediately taken down. And I guess the idea is Winch actually just holding the sound barrier for like a final big brawly contest onto the end of third. Not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, you don't have full LOS on everyone, so you might as well. I don't hate it, but it does require your remaining 2 members to survive in the backline.
Yeah, we're going to send Bob onto the point to hold that down as well. Bronan has actually been finally taken out. It said Delta's going to go on a flank. Hello, little fella. What do you think about that one? Marked out by the Genji. Did have that sound barrier overheld to work with. Mazo going to be winning the 1v1. And I think this phenomenal Genji player, Mazo falls to 1 HP before finally getting healed up. We should be seeing a full capture come through from Dragon's Abyss. Of course, Reno wants to say something about that. With the minefield, does plaster it all over the objective to take Freak down, but no one able to come back in. I tell a lie, actually. Delta back, but not able to bow into the ground. Lampy not having a target to ult is a big deal there, and yourself, you're not going to get outspawned fast enough. So Dragon's Abyss actually end up fully completing Hollywood. It looked very much like they could just be held on first, but then Mazo just activated, I don't know, word.exe or something like that. Or it became a freak by the end of this map.
It's a bit of a collapse from DYS budget approved, rather. Dragon's Abyss. It did feel like Mazo just powered them in. So for Nashoba, Gaspard especially, you know, we could still maybe ask to see some more of them, but we'll see if that will continue on the defense as it becomes much harder for a one-man army to just show up and, you know, kind of ruin your day. It does need to be more of a team effort. And so for budget approved, we'll see if that's harkens or hurts their chances of getting some decent progress themselves. Over to the Zarya, over to Old Faithful, see if they stick on it, but Dragon's Abyss, they're on the exact same thing. With one difference, Nashoba on this Cassidy, you've got extended shooting, which makes sense given the map geometry you have available to you, and some decent options as well for dealing with divers, whether your opponent brings out a Diva, a Ball, especially a Winston. You've got that flash, you've got a right click. It's gonna be LG. I think on the whole, budget approved have won out this compositional rock, paper, scissors. But if Reno struggles with these speeds whatsoever, he's going to find himself no bubbles, no HP in the middle of the field. And Gaspard and Nashoba especially will have a field day.
Yeah, we're going to see an attacking Zarya come out. Not a particularly traditional pick here, but on the first point, I feel like this could be fine. The second, we'll see. And sometimes you don't actually need to care about your Zarya at all, because Ashe does retain the ability to just sort of delete Tracer from the game at any given time.
It's a bit peak. Mazo, obviously no chance to be the hero as it gets decapitated pre-fight. Will be there on the respawn, but 2 ticks already through Dragon's Abyss. so far on the back foot already.
Yeah, Mazo comes back in, so they are going to get a refight. This time it's Bronan able to take Freaked down, and Delta so free. I have not seen Delta get a kill on Ashe that has not been a headshot. Like, this is actually kind of freaky.
Crosshair is just magnetic to enemy heads, apparently. 5.5 minutes on the time bank. Budget approved decided to lock in, and it's quite a threat for Dragon's Abyss to stare down. Remember, if Budget approved are able to finish with a minute or more on the bank, then Dragon's Abyss will have no chance to attack. They will be forced to either draw or lose this map, and so that's got to be the goal here for the team in yellow.
There, pro. Okay, like, I know that we were like gassing you up earlier, but that's a little freaky from Mazo. Lampy taken down, however. Yes. Legally, that is the correct term. That being said, that did create somewhat of a split, so Mazo almost doing the tank role there, of diverting attention into the back line, so the front line can do their jobs. Now, Dragon's Abyss are actually going to get a pretty decent hold at the start of second phase.
Indeed. See how that's going to continue. Pulsar would be a fantastic pick. Your Wuyang probably the best target. Nanabu, so surely what you're playing for Dragon's Abyss.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're going to have it as well. You have free reign of the high ground here. There was an opportunity at the start of the last fight for Budget approved to contest the high ground, but that's not going to be a thing anyway. You don't need to worry about contesting the Tracer because Delta's hit yet another headshot onto that thing. We really must stop meeting like this, says the Viper to the head of Mazo. Delta does get taken out in the process with that bomb, and Bronan able to land one on the pulse bomb, so it's a 4v3 situation in favor of Budget approved. Nanoboost comes out onto Gaspard, so it's the Nano Diva trying hard to get a kill onto the backline, but Lampy is very, very safe on this high ground. Does not have to worry about a damn thing right now. Bomb through ends up just being a bit of a feeding ram for Reno and all of that energy to play with. So the objective's just going to be forced even harder, and the person that you end up leaving on the point to try and hold it free to Brig is pretty tanky, but not really able to deal with a fully charged Zarya by her lonesome. We even solo grab the Ana just for love of the game. That's crazy.
Yeah, the time bank shows no signs of decreasing as they just book it towards the end of the second phase, and with these late kills, there's no chance whatsoever of Dragon's Abyss recontest. Again, 5 minutes on the bank. This is pretty insane, realistically. Almost 5 minutes, and Dragon's Abyss, no chance. Zarya into Rhine, I mean, maybe it is okay for Gaspard, but I feel like this is very much a Hail Mary.
I mean, Ryan, in theory, does deal with the Zarya pretty well, but it's just going to be a bit of an interesting affair in a comp like this. Again, the rest of the comp does not synergize well with it. Rally into the front line, but immediately blown up with the pulse bomb. Bronan, again, it's the DPS of Budget approved, who have just been putting in relentless amounts of work this map.
Indeed, Gaspard late kills, Budget approved. I mean, there's nothing you can say to take away from the success we're seeing here. If you get this Tracer 1v1 as well, Mazo, if he ends up going down, I mean, it's cataclysmic. How are you supposed to mount a 4v5 as a cart begins to roll towards the finish line?
The answer is that you just don't. Delta is really trying his damnedest to get on this angle here. Marked out, but given the bubble, given the pocket, given everything, Mazo has to be very careful entering Delta's line of sight for even a second. But Bronan finally been kept in check by Nashoba, must have been caught with a flashbang and taken out back and shot over yellow style, which does use sound barrier. Hits exactly 2 people, but apparently that's enough because you end up trading the tank. And obviously a Rhine comp very much centers around the Rhine. No one else really gets a say there. So you're pushing all the way through here. We can be looking at a full 3-minute cap.
I think we are, realistically. I mean, Deadeye has no chance whatsoever. 66 centimeters separates them from closing out the map, and the Bob just too strong. Yeah, it's brutal.
Oh my god. 3 minutes on the time bank. There's no way that Budget Approved can actually lose this map now. Dragon's Abyss need to hold on for an absolute miracle if they want to defend for 3 consecutive minutes. A draw is the best they can hope for, but Budget Approved. Again, honestly, like, if you want to mercy pocket Delta, even though that is a terrible idea, if you want to do that, like, just go for it. I think it'll work. Like, Mazo was going nuts on the Genji in that first round, and then went over to the Tracer at the second point, and just got dumpstered on by Delta over and over again. I'm thinking, Mesa, brother, go back to the Genji.
Yeah, it was finding a lot more work, a lot more value, and Dragon's Abyss, listen, 33%, almost 3 minutes. It's rough. It's really
Winnable.
Rough. It's technically
Never
winnable.
say never.
But it's going to need to be a really heroic hold, and DYS Budget Proof just seem to be the ones with the wind beneath their sails, and with the momentum to really propel themselves to a 2-0 lead. I mean, like, you've got the Mesa on the Venture now. Does it change the equation? Not particularly. Gaspar with the Zarya does get good charge off it. Noheen on the bat. I don't mind. I think the hero's in a good place right now. But it's not the crazy shakeup I'm looking for to try and see a 3-minute hold.
You gotta try something, right? We're throwing everything at the wall and seeing if anything sticks. Unfortunately, the wall is made out of soap, so the answer is no, absolutely nothing will stick. You do get a nice assassination play, so maybe that's good for your first fight, and you know what? We'll take it. I suppose the element of surprise is now gone. I think the even worse part about having told something like this is you just don't get the ability to, you know, go back to spawn and swap. You know, Budget Approved, they can change their comp much they want. If they want Delta on a cast to deal with this Venture, they can do that right now. They're going to have to keep them on the Ashe. But Dragon's Abyss don't have such flexibility.
Indeed. So we got some decent time off the bank belt, 45 seconds already. Ult's obviously pretty far off. That's a silver lining. You got charge on your Zarya. Can you get the one shot on your Venture? Oh, it's awkward. It's so awkward, but Mazo gets the first pick.
Yeah, in a spot like that, the Venture is just playing all or nothing. You get your kill and win the fight, or you don't and you lose it. And there is quite literally no in-between there. Now you can see the space slowly being created. Lampy diving in with the use of that rushing torrent. Not something I'm used to seeing from the Wu Yang players, playing more like a very... kind of like a schizophrenic Zen most of the time, but using that dive potential for what it is, and 2-0 up for DYS, putting themselves firmly on match point. Yeah, who else would get played?
We can take a look at this Ashe 3-piece.
I think that Genji
headshot.
I mean, like you always glaze players, like that's what you do. But to be specific, I mean, like the Wu Yang headshot is like, okay, it's a Wu Yang, you know, he's walking in a straight line. But hitting a mid-air double jumping Genji and then a fade away onto a blinking Tracer, like that is just ice in your veins level stuff. So phenomenal Ashe play and phenomenal DPS play on the whole from Budget Approved. I guess to a degree from Dragon's Abyss. You know, Mazo really tried on the Genji on that attack round, but I think it was, you did sort of correctly identify, for that map, it was on the defense, Budget Approved, they weren't quite locked in, they were playing a bit sloppy, and then they just turned their monitors on the attack round, and that changed everything.
Yeah, that it did. Listen, guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we'll see if Dragon's Abyss can start the reverse sweep, or if DYS Budget Approved will have the easiest win of their lives. We'll be back in a little bit.
Ticket is yours.
Hello everyone, welcome back to week 2 of the EU Open tier. Currently, as you can see the scoreline, Dragons Abyss fans, all 4 of you in the chat, are not having a good day right now. It is a terrible day, unfortunately, to be French, which I would argue is every day, but I would say that, wouldn't I? Budget approved, they've been looking strong, they've been looking good. Dragons Abyss, they've had their moments, they've really had their flashiness. I do think they're a team with potential, but right now it just seems like Budget approved are firing on all cylinders. They're doing exceptionally well. They're able to adapt their styles as well. So, you know, playing the Zarya, for the most part, has been bringing them the most success. And, of course, the Wu Yang defensively as well. And we need to talk about Delta, right? Like, Ashe isn't even meta. But you're playing the Ashe, and you're literally just, like, running the lobby like you're 2020 arms. Like, you can't be doing that kind of stuff. I am Egda, of course, joined by Spectrion. Do you think that we have an answer for Dragon's Abyss here to start the reverse sweep, or are we just sort of cooked?
I think we're cooked. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. And I'm really struggling to find out any sort of silver lining here to try and create. DYS budget approved do appear to be winning in basically every category. Dragons Abyss need to change something pretty quick.
Yeah,
I've got very little to offer, unfortunately. We lose on the Zarya, we lose on DPS, we lose on 2 different map types. What do we need?
God to come down and smite himself, basically. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I just laugh whenever I see the budget approved logo. Because, like, all the other DYS teams have, like, kind of normal logos, but for some reason this one is just... And the problem is, this is a GIF, and, like, I know the exact GIF, but it's not even just the fact that it's Chica. It's that I know that it's, like, Freaky Chica, or something weird like that. Anyway, Suravasa gonna be map 3. Is this particularly different? No. It's a Flashpoint map, which means it basically plays like the other 2 Flashpoint maps, which is normal as possible, dare I say.
Yeah, I mean, you have a little bit more angles than at least New Junk City. It tends to lead itself more to heavy solo play. I do think that Tracer mobile comps generally a bit better here. If you want to speak exclusively Zarya, then I think New Junk City would be better, which is why I think Dragons Abyss picked it. But I imagine they want to bring something like a Wrecking Ball here and see how it worked out. Again, like, it needs enough, and I'm not sure it isn't based on, like, Volcano, for example, based on Samoa, where we are playing more angle stuff, and it's still very much going in favor of DYS budget approved. Dragon's Abyss, I guess I think try a Winston is the first thing that comes to mind here, but we'll have to wait and see what it's actually a hero for what they've scrimmed.
I reckon they just ball on it, right? Like, they just play ball and go fully in. It's exactly as I called it. Kiriko has also been replaced with Chica. Oh, this is a wonderful day to have the mental capacity of an 11-year-old. Truly, it's wondrous stuff. Don't you think, Mr. Isaac?
It does help. It does help. Thing I can kind of offer here.
Does it help you? Does it help you cope with having to cart alongside me?
One makes 2. One makes 2.
Yeah. Very reasonable.
Wu Yang makes sense to Wu Yang comps. I don't think it's the whole issue, but that's what's happening.
You're basically playing a Wu Yangless meta right now, because as we know, it's not the be all and end all, but realistically, current strongest support, generally the backbone of most of your compositions and most of your styles, so you get to adjust it somehow. Diva ban out from DYS budget. I think if they were hard Zaryaing, they wouldn't really care about a Diva ban. It's not like they have a tank to protect because they banned second. Maybe they just want to try on the Wrecking Ball, I guess, because the Diva can be a bit of a burden for the ball, matrixing the backline whenever you try and go for an assassination play with those shots. Of course, is one of the few characters, not like mobile as a Tracer, but in the fight at least, one of the few characters mobile enough to actually run around and keep Paul in check wherever he may go until he just, you know, goes off to the other side of the map inexplicably. But I think we're just going to see most of the same budget approved. I think they can play the ball or the Zarya here. It doesn't matter much to them.
Yeah, that is my feeling at the very least. See how long this point actually ends up at King. I think market is going to be incredibly hard for Dragon's Abyss. If you do want to play, for example, a Wrecking Ball, then I think it kind of sucks there. But as you move over to the other flashpoints, there's more opportunities to play it. I think you have more roll throughs. I think you have more angles, all that kind of things that would allow an angles-based combat to function. I think it is there, but I think Gaspard hasn't been having the greatest time of day. Same with the show, but it feels like for Dragon's Abyss, if Mazo doesn't kill 5, then nothing happens at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, Mazo, maybe pull out that signature Hanzo pick. Why not? Just headshot everything across the map. Don't worry about the fact that you're going, dove to high heaven. How about this? You can't successfully pull off a dive if your entire team is dead to random Hanzo spam. So maybe Mazo's feeling lucky. Maybe Mazo, hits it big at the blackjack table every now and then. And you want to gamble on a Hanzo, and you want to gamble with, all of those logs just magically sailing through the heads of the DYS members. Is it a reliable strategy? No. Is it a strategy? In the loosest sense of the word, yes.
Yeah, it's a very loose sense of the word. You're casting a very wide net with that particular one, but only time can tell whether it will pay off or not. It's a very big ask though on Mazo to essentially become lobby admin for the next 3 maps to try and eke out some sort of victory. One I don't expect will actually end up seeing materialize. And so this map, I'm really struggling to set it as anything other than formality, right? I don't see a narrative, a strand we can pull on to describe this as anything but, because the DYS budget approved do seem, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of their opposition, and Dragon's Abyss, other than, a functional round we see put together by Mazo just going nuts on the Genji, that's kind of been it, essentially. And so, what do we see from them? What can we see from them? Unfortunately, so far, it feels like the answer is not a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. While we are waiting to go into the lobby, we do want to give you a quick reminder of all the CGL action that we have upcoming this week. Of course, we have today's open game later at 1 a.m. if you're in the UK, 28 o'clock Eastern. Going seeing North America match, Masters game between Low Ground Main and the Fallen, so make sure to tune in for that. And of course, as per usual, we will have matches on the rest of the week all the way through Sunday as well. Remember to be tuning in CGL Weekly for consistent high-tier Overwatch action.
Yeah, especially in the high-tier matches. Zarya out for Gaspard for a final time arena. Only Queen, actually, interestingly enough. See if that ends up working better or worse. You're much more cyclical around the single shout, but it is a stronger cycle, and you are much better at enabling your DPS on the whole. See how that works out as a heavy walk for Gaspard leading half HP.
Yeah, Gaspard is basically just ignoring the Queen right now. And to be honest, I don't think that's the effective strategy. If I had to call it, I'd say that Zarya acts a bit of a soft counter to the Queen, mostly because you can just bubble literally everything she does. Her knives, her carnages, her ability to gain any health back. It can be a real burden for you.
Yeah, that it can. So a pretty easy first fight here. The chase goes on so long, actually, with the Nashova going down. Reno, the shout holds on to their HP for a while. Will be able to escape with the help of Winch and Lampy. Bron already has a pulse bomb, and with a target like Nashova on the enemy side, you've got to be at least tempted already to make that happen. Extend poke is very rarely going to favor Dragon's Fist, even with the Arista here.
Yeah, and Gaspard's also getting poked out massively before the fight even begins. And again, you don't even need to worry about setting space for your Queen to walk up here, because you just get shot by everything, Gaspard has a million things to do, but Nashoba just playing distance on the Sojourn, constantly poking him out, it's causing some problems.
Indeed. We're going to close to finishing that out entirely. Gaspard has to try and get overtime started realistically with Fright dead, with Nashoba and Gaspard both low HP. This is just going to be a cap. Ronan dying doesn't do one job other than to save you from some potential chases. It won't even do that. Delta pushes in, and Budget approved continue their reign of dominance. 100-0 on market, but like we mentioned, that was going to be the especially hard point perhaps for Dragon's Abyss, so maybe things get a little bit better as we move towards Gardens.
Yeah, I'm thinking for Dragon's Abyss here, can you really do anything about Delta, right? You know, the Venture is a pretty good assassin, but they don't generally have the ability to just close all that distance and immediately get the one shot. You know, they have to kind of set up for that. Gonna see a Kitsune Rush mirrored out from both these teams. Will make Reno think twice possibly about using that rack actually come through. Ronan's already found the first pick as a beat only comes out from Winch. Crete has not quite gotten up to one of their own yet. The Rampage coming through. To be honest, you needed that sound barrier. You needed it yesterday.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Fright still hasn't had a chance to materialize it. Just been dying too fast for those winches. And we see the value right there. 17% is their first progress on this map, at the very least. But it doesn't matter. Not one shot. That's not even a fight, unfortunately. So this Terror Surge has to be huge, but it won't be. It's just a Kiri diff in the pre-fight.
Yeah, they're getting confident now. That was Lampy and Bronan literally just camping in the backline, waiting for Dragon's Abyss to come past so they can pick away at their prey right now. 50% capped up here. Utter dominance coming through from DYS right now.
It's, like we said, it's kind of what we were expecting, unfortunately. Getting closer to a strong fight for Dragon's Abyss, and Delta's does overpeak, surviving on 3 HP. Now 0 as Mazo does magic up a double kill. Again, it's Mazo's way or no way at all. But it is at least a fight win, and it is finding the flip. Budget approved, still one fight away from closing out this flashpoint. But Dragon's Abyss are now getting progress of their own now on the board, and you have an ult bank to defend it with.
Crazy ult bank at that as well. Free is going to come up to that sound barrier, so he's going to have the advantage of Winch in that regard. Nashoba can play this angle with the overclock. Might have to duel out Delta for that, however. Of course, Gaspar can... I was going to say use that Terror Surge, but it's not going to be possible, and the Pulse Bomb forces a Suzu, which clears the space for Delta to come through with these shots, put them right between the eyes of the members of Dragon's Abyss, and hope is only a fleeting thing. And budget approved, proving that right here.
Yeah, pretty easy on the refight. Unfortunately, Dragon's Abyss didn't even have a chance to use their ultimate. They try now. Maybe they can overall on Reno, who is overextended. No, that's not going to be. No heat insta-dead. The axe connects them to nothing, but Dragon's Abyss, I mean, they get the one.
Where is my
Only
queen,
that.
bro? Where's my queen,
Man,
bro?
what's happening?
They actually get a point flip because Reno was in fact just like smelling salt in the enemy backline. We now get a solo onto the backline queen! Dragon's Abyss actually win this. Wait, no, they flip the point. It's not going to be a C9, not this time at least. Delta evens the odds onto Free before being taken down by Gaspar. Surely tank presence on this point does mean that Dragon's Abyss just take this, right? Reno is not going to be able to get back in time. Bronan's able to touch, take out Mazo in the process. Mirrored Kitsu's come out. No Heat's putting the work in. And Nashoba comes through with the overclock as well. And Dragon's Abyss, they do end up claiming one of our points.
I would love to sell this as Dragon's Abyss's victory, but it was much more budget approved loss. They just, Reno goes insta DP overall, and then we just like troll and don't help. He's so deep again. Look where the rest of the team is. They're in a different continent, bro. They've got to hop on the Concord to even get in the fight.
You know that clip of Joe Biden just like walking into the forest? Like inexplicably, that's Reno right now, dude. He's on Hazard now anyway. Okay, do we like Hazard? Possibly. Do we like Tracer? Not if they're killing your entire backline, because that's entirely what Bronan did. Bronan just kills 3, just by himself, because love of the game, or honor, or glory, etc, etc.
By the way, Bronan's in their spawn. Bronan is in their spawn, actually, and only just decides to get it now with the recall. Really wanted to get some late kills or some pulse from charge, whatever it is. Quite find it.
It's 50 to another false bomb. He just used the bloody thing.
Yeah, Dragon's Abyss square up once again. They've got a blade. Only that. Mazo has to kill 5. He's done it before. This time,
well, goes up into the sky, comes back down to be met with a hailstorm of damage and everyone on the enemy team being healthy, and also a railgun shot to the head, which is certainly not how I like to spend my Thursday evenings. Each to their own, I suppose. Nashoba able to trade 1 back, but it's not going to be quite enough. Bronan, if he's good enough to kill 3, like in a clean fight, then you know that in a cleanup he's going to be even worse.
Yeah, it's working so well for budget.
Gaspard, please don't die, bro. Like,
Someone's going to. Lampy's getting involved. Friends out. Did he find a TP target? He will be able to escape. No, the spear! We go 1-1 anyway, who even cares?
Bronan went for the Giga Pulse of all time. I would have actually screamed my entire neighborhood down had that hit, but unfortunately, not the world in which we live in. Reyno's going to be forced out of this damage and eventually taken down too. Tank presence again seems to be the name of the game for Dragon's Abyss. If we have Orisa, and we just plant the Orisa on point, and we just do our best to pretend that we are not being murdered by the DPS of Budget Approved, then maybe we'll be okay.
Indeed. Again, it's another flip, one that maybe was given by Budget Approved by getting a little bit too creative with their positioning, but they still can walk in with the Kitsu. Dragons just have the Terra Surge and the counter Kitsu. See how that works out for them.
Yeah, Gaspard, of course, wants an opportunity to use his Terra Surge. Actually ends up having to use it defensively, but at the same time, as Nashoba sinks all the shots in, we see some actually pretty good sync-up play from Dragon's Abyss.
Yeah, pretty nice. Maybe you didn't need both the Kitsu and the Terra Surge. At the end of the day, you get the job done. However,
You still have the rail as well.
You still got your OC, you got beat, your close blades. Dragon's Abyss just have the downpour. They're probably going to play until they have social, considering the amount of time you've got. But no, they just want to go first, apparently.
Yeah, they do just also, you know, delete Freak from existence and delete Noheen as well. I should note, Bronan isn't getting any help on the backline here. He's just going in, like, without any assistance. I don't even think there's a Lucio on the angle with him, or a Kiri enabling it. He's just randomly murdering players at will. Bezo gonna die just short of the sound barrier. The Dragon Blade, Free, I was gonna say, gets back, opts not to use a sound barrier. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Situation like that. 2-1, Budget Approved, cap one more point. Don't throw, because you've done a little bit of that thus far. And we should be home in time for tea.
They've been throwing like as much as possible. It's just been working half the time, so the amount feels low, right? Phase over the blade. Looks to get involved some way, somehow. You beat Blade, not a terrible combination, but you need to figure out how to deal with winches all day is on the horizon now.
60% of the time it works every time when we're talking about Mezo's Blade, and exactly as I said, works every time. It gets two. Bronan, of course, still doing Bronan things, making these fights even. Winch died 99% to sound barrier, so Free has that in the advantage. Bronan has killed everyone! Bronan has literally killed everyone until Lampy finally comes through, and in the 2v1, Budget Approved, they get the point flip. Now Delta's back. This is a bit of a disaster class right now.
Well, this is a disaster class. There's no there's no ifs or buts. This is chaos. This is pandemonium.
Are there coconuts? Are there coconuts?
What are you talking about, man?
Oh my god. Anyway, so we see that Budget Approved is still going forward here. Gaspard is in. We actually double up on the ultimate sound barrier and overclock as well. Gaspard ends up catching Winch out with the Terra Surge, falling lower and lower here. And I don't think you're going to be able to get away from that downfall, especially when it's in a situation like that. Ronan able to do a damn good job of cleaning things up here. 75% on the objective now. And again, last minute heroics from Mezo, not going to be enough. Ronan's heroics are just a little greater.
Yeah, that they are one fight territory, see if a touch comes through. I imagine it's possible, especially with a swap over to the Doomfist, but only an OC to try and fight with. Nashoba has to be the hero.
Ooh, ends up taking Ronan's head right off as well. So Sojourn finding your mark there. Gaspard not going to be good for a lot here. Just sort of goes on point, just be taken down again. Not even able to secure the kill onto Lampy with that empowered punch. Nashoba has to be the hero, has to be the playmaker with the overclock. Takes down Reno from the side of Budget Approved, who has also swapped over to a Doomfist just to contest. And by the skin of their teeth, Dragon's Abyss get the point back.
Yeah, that they will. And they get a late kill as well onto Ronan. See if it matters. Maybe have a chance or more. Lampy and Delta have to tuck their tail beneath their legs, but they seem to be extricating themselves from the fight well enough. Great chase from Gaspard, and the rail from Nashoba is able to find this cleanup, and so you're able to get at least one fight win proper on the board. But
can you elaborate why we're why we're seeing a Doom mirror in Big 25.
They went Doom to go back to the point far, so now they're stuck on the heroes and coming up to change, so...
Yeah, pretty unlucky there. Mazo has a Blade, which is also going to be the only ult on the board. So, you know, all goes well here. Mazo just kills 5, as he's done quite a few times. We're actually going to go in with it right here. Takes a boatload of damage, actually taken out. That's the one ultimate you have. It doesn't go your way. You flip the point for budget approved as well. And I don't think it's going to be enough. You have the Blade. That was your win con. Gets completely shut down. And now there is an absolute... It's an absolute stomp coming through from budget approved at the end there. It wasn't really in doubt, even if they did make it a bit funky at times. DYS budget approved going to be winning 3-0.
Yeah, they were in control for all of that, unfortunately. They did give over 1 point, but as you mentioned, that was... I mean, it was from a budget approved. It's as simple as that. Dragon's Abyss, unfortunately, going to take their second 0-3 loss of the EU Opens here. And DYS budget approved a second W. They can now move towards that mid-season tournament, being already in a pretty good spot for it. And I have to imagine they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable for the remainder of this, you know, at least this set first half of the season as well. If I'm Dragon's Abyss, that loss did kind of suck. I would love to say there are learning moments, but it might just be that game kind of sucked. We were against a strong team, we go next kind of day. Because if you try and use that for coaching, I mean, the opposing team would just like hard flanking their Kiriko. I'm not sure it's going to be an entirely useful document. So very rough loss for Dragon's Abyss. Hopefully they can shake it off and continue throughout this open season.
Yeah, there's definitely layers. There are some things from the game where you can take as, you know, macro mistakes, things that are to be fixed in, you know, VOD reviews, scrims, etc., etc. And there are some things where it's like, look, at the end of the day, they could hit more shots, play some more ranked, go on Vaxter, whatever. You know, there's a million different things that can play into it. It definitely was a tough loss, but we do hope to see Dragon's Abyss back. We do hope to see them stronger than ever. And of course, we do want to give a big shout out to Budget Approved there, going 2-0. As you say, getting themselves a lovely start. I think there were 8 weeks of the open schedule before we get into the playoff bracket. So already, you know, you're guaranteed those 2 wins against some pretty decent looking teams as well. Obviously going on when you get to go against things like the, you know, teams like the Aura Farmers, you know, we'll see how well that goes, but, you know, can't win them all, I suppose. They should be in pretty good standing.
One would imagine that, but we're going to go for a little bit to sit down for a little bit, as we do have a short break from the back and interview with one of the victorious members of DYS Budget Approved. So don't go nowhere, we'll be back in a little bit.
Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, was so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. Let's free fall. Let's free fall.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Season 16, Week 2 of the European Open bracket. And Budget Approved, they really put the boot to Drowned. It's a 3-0 dominant victory, and very luckily for us, we have an interviewee on the line in the form of Lampy. Lampy, first of all, big congratulations on your win. I guess the second thing I wanted to say, how is kind of the team atmosphere after a win like that? Things got a little silly, so how's the team feeling as a whole?
The gang was having so much fun, I can't lie. We were messing about hard.
We could tell. We could tell.
I'm pretty sure we were singing Katy Perry at some point.
Which song?
Surely Firework.
Teenage Dream.
You know what? Close second. That's pretty base, actually.
Hey, what's the first one?
Yeah, Firework.
Baby, you're a fire. Anyway.
Spec, did I ask? Spec, did I ask you to sing, bro?
My first question to you is going to be, so obviously you guys were messing around a decent amount. Was that something you knew you were going to do heading into the game? Or was it something you kind of realized, through a certain point of the game?
I think some of my teammates have actually scrimmed these guys before. And we didn't think we needed to take it seriously. A lot seriously. Of course we calmed and shit, but we didn't try too hard.
And then
We were kind of messing about.
And then for my second question, 2 wins, I believe, in CGL already. You're putting yourself in a pretty good season for a pretty good position rather for the mid-season tournament that we have coming up. Have you guys thought about that at all? Do you have anyone you particularly want to face, or are you just taking each game as it comes?
I think we're looking to win every game. 3-0 preferably. I think we lost one map to Chimera because my bum-ass team couldn't do it because I wasn't there. But
blame the team.
We blame the team now. I wasn't there, that's the reason. My bum-ass team lost to Chimera. But now we're looking at, I think, Smelvin. It's probably the team we're looking at the most. The biggest competitor.
Okay. So I mean, I guess following on from that, the final question I had is similar to Spec's question, where obviously you're in this for the long haul. You're starting off 2-0. You say that you want to get through all of these opening weeks, all of these qualifiers with wins, 3-0s every single time. In terms of the entire EU Open bracket, there are some incredibly strong competitors. Of course, Smelvin, someone you mentioned, but also teams like Aura Farmers, Gambit. There are some, incredibly there are some incredibly strong teams coming out here. Are you looking at winning the entire season? Do you want that crown, or are you thinking, okay, top 4 realistic, or is it just take it, game by game, go from there?
Dude, I need that prize money. I want Mackey's Nuggets and a low taper fade, and that's going to be paid out of CGL pocket.
I'm actually getting my hair cut tomorrow. Should I ask them for a low taper?
You should get a low taper fade. I heard the ladies like it.
I don't know what ladies you've been speaking to. I haven't been doing that, for reference. So you're going to spend the prize money on haircuts and chicken nuggets?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's pretty valid, actually.
Reasonable,
Okay.
reasonable.
Yeah, no, that's not the worst answer that I've ever had when asking someone about winning prize money. So, you know what? Good on you. I hope that you have 1,000 haircuts and that we can collect it all at the end and make a little voodoo doll out of Lampy. It'd be really cool. Before
awesome.
it would be so cool, man. Before we headed off, was there anyone on your team or just anyone else on a whole that you wanted to give a quick shout out to?
Let me think. I want to give a shout out to Reno for not playing ball when I specifically asked him to play ball. Thank you, Reno. Love you. You're a bum.
Okay, well, it's all love in the DYS dugout, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, Lampy. Obviously, congratulations on the win. We're looking at big things for the rest of DYS going forward, so we'll let you go celebrate with the rest of your team, but thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on the win.
Thanks, gang.
Thank you. Okay, then. Lampy certainly had some views, but I think we could tell that everything was business as usual for him, right? You know, they got silly. A few maps got deceptively close on account of the silliness, but it was never really in doubt. This is one of the top teams to look at, you know, up there with the Smelvins, up there with the Aura Farmers, you know.
Yeah, it was a very simple win here, and for Dragon's Abyss, you just go next, all you can really say after that. I think, though, for us, it's kind of been everything. So, for the last time, there's going to be one NA game happening. Today, it's going to be in, obviously, Eastern Time, 20 Eastern Time, at 8 p.m. That's going to be a Masters match between Low Ground Main and The Fallen, covered by Martineva and Thoramir. Today, we've had... obviously, myself and Egda on the call. Legolev has been doing the production, with I believe Hippie doing the observation. I could be wrong. No, Headrammer, sorry, doing the observation. And from everyone here at CGL, we would like to wish you a great night and a wonderful rest of your day.